Thank you, Greg. Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks has taken over operational control of Lloyd Austin's job after the Secretary of Defense was taken to Walter Reed Medical Center late Sunday afternoon. The Pentagon says Austin's secretary detail took him to the hospital at 4:50 p.m. for what's being described as emergent bladder issues. Doctors at the medical center say after a series of tests, they moved the secretary into the critical care unit for close monitoring. They also made it clear Austin's current ailment is not expected to impact his prognosis for full recovery from the prostate cancer treatment he received in late December.
President Biden refused the live interview offer at the Super Bowl, but he and his team did post a video blaming snack food makers for inflation. Biden stated, quote, "As an ice cream lover, what makes me most angry is the ice cream cartons have actually shrunk in size, but not in price." Does blame shifting for inflation work, Luke?
You know, I think that there's something greater at play here. They had him go out the other day and do a live press conference where he was exposed to the media to try to prove that he was of sound mind and that he was able to govern, and it went very poorly. I think his staff might have done that on purpose because you don't let your principal go out there and embarrass himself in front of the entire world unless you're trying to send a message. I think that Biden and perhaps his wife realized that that's what the goal was, to maybe try to toss who the Democrat nominee is going to be near the election. And so now they're going to start releasing more pre-recorded tape so that the Biden administration can control what goes out from this White House.
He just needs to borrow from Nancy. Nancy Pelosi has a whole drawer full of ice cream. We saw that one time. All right, the most controversial ad during the Super Bowl was one for Robert Kennedy Jr.'s independent presidential run. Is a throwback ad from his uncle JFK's campaign with his face replacing his uncle's. Now, Democrats, including some Kennedy family members, lost their minds. They criticized him for the ad, causing RFK Jr. to apologize for it. Should he be backpedaling for the ad, Luke? Was it effective?
You know, I think it is. I think it's funny that he is irritating a lot of these Democrats who have been a part of the Kennedy family for a long time with his candidacy. I would caution conservatives when they're approaching RFK Jr. If you like one or two things about the candidate, I think that's great. But as a whole, he's no longer a foil to just the Democrat Party. He's a foil to Republicans and Democrats. He could pull votes away from having Donald Trump be the next president. And so I would be very cautious when you're going into the voting booth. You can appreciate maybe one or two elements about a candidate, but look at the totality of what they're running on and ensure they are pro-life, that they're pro-family, they're pro-Second Amendment, and all the things that conservatives and biblical Christians are concerned about. Make sure they have all of those priorities at play.
Real quickly on this, a new twist in blue sanctuary city openness to illegal immigrants. Boston Councilwoman Julie Mejia, a Democrat, is calling on other cities to take in illegal aliens coming to Boston because it's overflowing. She says, quote, "Everyone needs to start opening their doors because this is a shared responsibility." What say you, Luke Ball?
I think it's really interesting because they went and interviewed a couple who said that they would take in as many illegal immigrants as they possibly could. And so they just sent them and showed up at the door. And the couple was complaining, we didn't know where they were from, who they were. They didn't give us any information. That's the entire state of what we're dealing with in the United States of America right now.
All right, Luke Ball, thank you so much. We'll be back to you in just a moment. Mike?
Greg, as the sun approaches what some scientists call solar maximum, NASA has identified a significant cluster of sunspots known as AR 3576, which has grown in size over the past month and may pose a risk of strong solar flares. Those flares can then disrupt radio communications, power grids, and navigation signals. NASA recently captured a sizable solar flare on its Solar Dynamics Observatory. The space agency discovered this sunspot grouping initially detected by the Perseverance rover on Mars. AR 3576 is believed to be larger than Earth and measures around 93,200 miles long. NASA advises against direct sun observation without proper eye protection. Fior.
Mike, former President Donald Trump, while speaking on Friday to the National Rifle Association, blasted the Department of Justice as a corrupt two-tiered system of injustice for not charging Joe Biden for his mishandling of classified documents. In Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Trump took aim at the DOJ's deliberate targeting of the president's political opponents.
We have a sick and corrupt two-tiered system of justice in our country. Do I know better than anybody? As an example, it was just announced that Joe Biden, his Department of Injustice, will bring 0 charges against Crooked Joe, despite the fact that he willfully retained and disclosed troves of ultra-classified national security documents. This is nothing more than selective persecution of Biden's political opponent, me. And I don't know that it's Biden, because I don't think he knows he's alive.
Trump went on to say, quote, if he is not going to be charged, that's up to them. But then I should not be charged, end quote. The U.S. Department of Treasury confirmed Friday that federal investigators used politically sensitive terms like MAGA and Trump in monitoring private transactions. Fox News reports a letter sent to South Carolina Senator Tim Scott referred to the surveillance that took place in the wake of the overrunning of the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. Just the News report says that Scott wrote to the Treasury Department for answers in January after it came to light that the House Judiciary Committee had asked financial institutions to review transactions containing certain keywords. Scott's letter to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said, quote, these allegations, if true, represent a flagrant violation of Americans' privacy and the improper targeting of U.S. citizens for exercising their constitutional rights without due process. The Treasury Department's acting Assistant Secretary Corey Tellez acknowledged terms searched, including MAGA, Trump, Biden, Pelosi, and Antifa. Reportedly, the generated terms were used to identify suspicious transactions when reviewing customers' transactional records to create suspicious activity. Reports, Tim?